Day. This is Toksa Hour. I am Maggie Ross, and I am live from Porcupine, South Dakota. Hey, this is the first time for me to be over here on YouTube. So this is our first YouTube show being live, and I'm really glad to be here. It's uh it's a little different, and so I'm learning the tricks of the trade, or however you want to say that. So today is Groundhog Day. I don't know how many of you are up to snuff on it, but according to the groundhog, there's two of them right now. There's Buckley, who says we are going to have an early spring. Our spring is on its way. And then there's what's his name? Puka, whatever. Puka Hannes. Hey, Puka, I gotta go look. Punksutani. Hey, Phil, anyways, Phil. Phil is saying that we are going to have a extended winter. So Phil is in Philadelphia and Buckeye Chuck is in Ohio. So I don't know which one you guys want to follow. Me, I look outside. I was gonna tease around about who has the prairie dog outside in Indian country to see what the prairie dogs are predicting this day, if we're going to have an extended winter or early spring. I don't know. I think we're probably in an early spring kind of situation. I'm really sad about it. I'm really sad about the weather. Very sad. I'm sad because we didn't get a lot of moisture, and we know that means drought. I'm sad because I love winter. I love snow and I love walking in it and I love being in it. I mean, it does freeze you to death, but still I like that. Anyway, so it's a little sad for me. But also normally in January, so I'm a little behind. So in January, usually I start thinking about my gardening. I start thinking about what I need to do, start planning, and then it's February 2nd, and I'm told that um Ash Wednesday is this coming Wednesday, isn't it? Let me see. Ash Wednesday. My son goes to a Catholic school, and so the first day of Lent is Wednesday, March 5th. Never mind. So we're away, way. Okay. Well, I was kind of stressing out, thinking, man, we're already at Lent. So never mind. I will back up the panic. So, however, I will say chickens. It is going to be chicken season soon. And so my mind is already planning that. I had a couple fails the past 2 years. I had one really great successful year with my chickens. And then predators, like my neighbors, their dogs, took them out. So, and then last year it was my own dog. Oh my God. Oh, that was so horrible. But it was. Anyways, so that's what happened there. And so I was pretty sad about it. And um I think it kind of just gets me to know that I need to be better prepared. And I've said to the audience before, like I made a job transition. And so in the job transition, it's like, am I moving? Am I moving? But then, I was excited about it that I'm going to move. But then now we have Trump, Trump going all crazy with all his executive orders and his attack on minorities. And it was really crazy because a lot of people in Navajo country like supported him, like all out. A lot of Latinos down in California, all out Arizona, Hispanics, Mexicans, all out. Like he wasn't gonna do this to them, and wow, he is. And then his first action was to um and birthright citizenship. And he doesn't even have the authority to do that, but somehow he thinks he has the authority to do that. And so that already went into court and it got challenged. And the first step, so that was put on, that was a no. And so he has to appeal this and run it up to the Supreme Court, where he's thinking that he appointed all those guys, so they're going to side with him. But he fails to recognize that some of those people are constitutionalists and they believe in the Constitution. And so when you're going to go and do something like birthright citizenship and target Native American people and fail to even acknowledge those treaties that are tied into that Constitution, well, you're going to get some of those justices that are going to say, I don't know about that. And then we had him do the freeze. That was hilarious. It's like, holy crap, man, this guy, no bounds, no boundaries. It's like he's just a maniac. It's like just out there in his crazy world. Anyways, so that lasted one day. Everybody was mad, and probably a week. I watched the inauguration, and then I watched some of the stuff after the inauguration and when he is signing those executive orders and stuff. And I was like, geez. So I was trying to talk to council people for the Oglala Sioux tribe, anyways. I'd be calling all the other ones too if I had numbers. But like they have to like put differences aside and they have to come together. And I know like we're in this frenzy over um all the stuff that's been happening through COVID and the corruption and everything. But I don't know, it's like if as long as we're fighting each other, we're gonna get taken out. And there's that saying, like when you're like this, we're weak. But if we're like this, we're strong. And so we have to think about that. Like what are we doing? And this is the main reason, like my move to YouTube, all the things going on with Meta. Meta is settling out of court with Donald Trump for $200 million, I believe, because he banned him from Facebook. How many of us, just as common people, have gone through this process with Meta and they banned you, or they're sanctioning you, they're doing all this stuff. But that's what they're doing. They're settling out of court with this guy instead of fighting him. Like, so I got off Meta because, well, I'm trying to get off Meta. Meta has taken away their delete profile account for me. So when I go to delete my profile, it just says page not found, or there's a problem with this page, try again. And I've been trying for 3 weeks now. I think it's been 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. See, when the 20th for sure, 20th. So maybe not that long, but feels like it. So I've been trying to do that, and I'm getting blocked. And so all I could do is delete my pages. Um, so I deleted all the pages. that I created so far. And and then when I delete my account, like I think all the groups I created as well, and I did create. So like there's a Lakota stand against violence, or yeah, stand against violence page I group I created. I have some groups on poverty. Excuse me. So I have quite a few groups that I created, and some of them I tried to find somebody else to host them so the pages or their groups don't go down. And if I couldn't find anyone, then when I finally actually get to delete, that will happen. And so you can find me. I'm on TikTok. I'm Maggie's Garden on TikTok. So you can find me there. And I'm debating because I think I'm getting off TikTok too because of all of this Donald Trump stuff and what they're doing. And the censorship is crazy on TikTok. Like you can't even, I mean, we have to speak in so much code now. It's almost like natural for me. Instead of saying they murdered someone, they were unalived. You know, that's insane. We can't say genocide, can't say Palestine. They determined that from the river to the sea is a anti-Semitic thing, and you can get banned for it on TikTok. A lot of things. It's like so it's not really free speech place, and you're not, and they're really spending a lot of time trying to suppress voices. So whenever the TikTok ban went in, and then it was down for like a day, and then it came back, then it was all weird. And so like I couldn't like I subscribed to lives and stuff like that, and all my subscriptions went away, and I couldn't resubscribe, or I couldn't, you have to get like what they call TikTok coins. I couldn't do that, just like all of these different things. It's just like um I don't know, it's just weird. But I am also on Red Note, and I love Red Note. If you get a chance, people are all like, "Oh, it's a Chinese app, and Chinese or China's going to take your data." And one of the things that I'm kind of finding out is that they kind of protect your data a little bit better over there. They have more respect for you as a person on their platform, from what I've kind of seen. And then it's just mind blowing to see how people live, like the propaganda that's fed through the United States on Chinese people, and then also to know like they don't have property tax, they don't have taxes like that, and so if you become homeless, you don't lose. I mean, not homeless. If you become jobless, unemployed, you don't lose your home. So there's all of these things that are really, really interesting. So all these different things, and one of the things that I really love on Redno is some of the country stuff because I'm a gardener and I'm a naturalist. I love the outdoors, and so watching some of their flowers and their outdoor, their country life, I'm just like, wow. It's pretty fascinating their city life too. Like that's intense stuff, but I would be in the country, I'd be out trying to plant stuff and live that life because I don't get along too well in big large cities. I mean, that's insane. Like I don't know, like, and then to see how high their buildings are. Oh my God, if I had to live in a high rise, I would die. I wouldn't be able to go look out the window. I'd just have a massive heart attack and collapse because it's crazy stuff though. Yeah, so As we oh, and good morning, Steve. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you found us over here. I'm really glad to see you. Um, I'm really glad you made it. Hopefully everybody else eventually will figure it out. It was real interesting. I went to well, I'm over there at Sinte Gleshka, and we hosted the Warrior Women platform. Um and the institution honored Madonna Thunderhawk. And so we watched the film, and then she spoke, and then in the afternoon we had a panel. And on the panel was Madonna and her daughter Marlise. Um and then we had Chaz Jewett and Dara Ayat, and to listen to them speak and to talk about all the things, like Doksha Hour usually is talking about too. It was really nice to hear that and to hear these women speak. And Chaz Jewett is going to come on. We're working out some dates for that. She's going to come on and be interviewed. Chaz is a well-known activist in at least up here in Indian country in South Dakota. She's been really active, no dapple. And whenever South Dakota did oh, I'm trying to remember when that was, in 2016, I think. Anyways, we had an abortion initiative or constitutional thing, and we really worked hard together, a lot of us, and we were able to defeat it. And because the legislature had created this ban, and so we worked real hard together, and then up in No Dapple, and then her and I tried to do get behind Jill Stein, but after the Dems did that to Bernie, because we're like Bernie sisters. You know how they say Bernie bros? We're Bernie sisters. So anyways, at the Warrior Women panel, they announced, and it was real funny, announced because Trump had rescinded his executive order on freezing funds. So everyone's like, yeah, yay, all happy or whatever. So then I said, so we went back from being, or so now or we went from unfrozen to back to being underfunded. It's like we get all excited for what? But there is a hiring freeze. So this hiring freeze affects Indian country because we cannot hire doctors and nurses. We can't hire janitors. We can't hire maintenance. We can't hire office, records. We can't hire anybody because of the freeze. The same for our BIA and BIE. So everything's going to be frozen. You can't hire anybody. And so if we had vacant positions that were in the process of being interviewed and filled, not anymore. And Pine Ridge Hospital, we have doctors leaving like crazy. So we're gonna be, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is gonna be. People are really panicking and saying, well, we need a 638 no, because even if you do that, they freeze the funds. And then they're doing this DEI thing, right? So DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so Trump is against that. And I've said this previously in Doksha Hour that DEI has to, it's kind of the replacement of affirmative action. And they beat affirmative action in the court. The Supreme Court ruled against it. And so then Biden comes up with DEI. And so then they were implementing DEI. You had to show what your diversity, equity, and inclusion was. And so now he scaled that back, and they're looking at who was hired, who was hired as DEI. Because if you were hired as DEI, then you're going to lose your job. And you go back and you look, for I'm asking IHS, BIA, BIE, we can have Indian preference. Does that get affected? Is that considered DEI? I'm asking. Tribal governments are tribal schools have DEI, like they give preference to tribal members. So how is that going to affect them? And so I'm asking different tribal council people, and this is where it's really hard, is like because they're not getting along. Our tribal council is not getting along. There's a lot of scandal going on within tribal council. I got off Facebook, and I'll tell you, um, my life has really freed up. I mean, not that I was on there anyways, but someone would say to me, "Well, did you hear about?" And I'd say no, and they'd say, "Well, so then I'd go log in and go look, and then I'd be like trying to find out, the truth, or not the truth, but like what's the story." I don't have to do that anymore, and I'm glad, because it's really been a hard place. Facebook has been toxic for years, and I stayed on there for my family because my family was there. And then in 2020, Doksha Hour was born there. And so that's why I stayed. And now I'm not there, so I'm really glad I'm not there, because I want to be about growth, and I want to be about education. Like what do we need to know and how do we need to move forward? And I don't want to be getting involved in all of the fighting, because you have to, at some point we have to find unity. And so where's this unity at? And we have to find a way. And people are screaming at tribal council, right? But you voted for them. Those people were voted by the people. They were voted in by the people. And so it kind of gets too much for me. Like I like to, I rather live my life in peace than to be living it in people who are just unhappy. And I'm sorry to say that. Um, because you're never ever gonna please everybody. Never ever. I mean, I think I did that lesson before, the two-thirds odd, and the 80-20, and you're looking at those things. And I rather flourish and build. Anyways, so this is what I was saying. So we were at the Warrior Woman, and I saw um one of the Doksha viewers, and she's telling me, she says, Doksha Hour viewers, she says, geez, Sunday came and I was saying to my husband, what's wrong? Something is wrong today. And anyway, so she was saying that, and kind of made me feel good, I guess, because she said they realized it was Doksha Hour. They will every Sunday morning they watch Doksha Hour, and I wasn't there, and that kind of interfered or whatever with their day, and made them not feel adequate. And so I thought that was nice. Yeah. Oh, and then we could be talking about AI, right? China just blew all these AI people out of the water in the United States. So um that is something. I really thought, so I downloaded DeepSeek. I did. I'm just like I think I'm a rebel. I don't even care. It's like, well, what are they gonna do to me that Mark Zuckerberg hasn't already done, you know? So I downloaded DeepSeek. Use that as my AI. Crazy. I was all going to be against AI too until they did that. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. Crazy. So, so we had that happen. This week was pretty stressful for some. Like I take everything with them. There's this thing called shock and awe. Or shock, it's um oh, what is it called? It's like the shock um what is it called? Uh the shock doctrine. Let's see if I have an image. I'll share it out here. Whoops. Oh, I have to open it first. Sorry. Hey, been off my laptop for 2 weeks, so it feels like, but it's actually I was on it this week, but I still don't haven't been on Zoom for a little bit, so I'm going through this. Where's there's a book. It's called The Shock Doctrine. Oh, here it is. I can get it up and to share. So the shock doctrine is written by Naomi Kline, author of No Logo. And you can find her on, there's a new app out too, and I'm on that one too, and you can find me as Maggie's Garden. Um, it is called Blue Sky, and she is on Blue Sky, so I'm following her there. But this the shock doctrine or the rise of disaster capitalism. So one of the things that she talks about is um how it's termed disaster capitalism, where they do these large scale crises like natural disasters, wars, economic shocks, and then the government will exploit them, corporations will exploit them, and then they push for neoliberal economic policies. Um, and normally these types of policies would be rejected by the public, but because they use these disaster um, uh, issues, we're already in a state of shock and awe kind of stuff, like we're, oh my goodness, what's going on, kind of thing happening. And because of that, they're able to maybe whittle us down or we feel threatened, so we might accept it. Um, so Kline says that she gets this shock doctrine. She says is her influence for the shock doctrine comes from Milton Friedman. And he was a Chicago School of Economics professor, and he promoted free markets policies globally. So, and then she talked about another term. Um, so Milton Friedman, he would do he liked to do this during times of crisis. So it's something he promoted. And so we'll see as we discuss this a little bit more that this is kind of coming down into a process of, the shock and awe, like what we're feeling right now with Trump. So the shock therapy, when they're talking about shock therapy, they're talking about doing this really fast. So we had what, 100 and some executive orders that Trump signed. So this rapid implementation of what would be termed far right economic policies. So remember where they were talking about Project 2025. And because of that, it puts us into turmoil, not only socially, but economically. So we're feeling it, right? Yesterday, Trump said 25% tariff on Canada, Mexico, and China. And so Mexico and Canada have both responded. And they said that they are going to, in turn, put tariffs on the United States. And so what is that? Oh, but they're not going to do it the same way because Trump is blanket, and then I think it's a 10% on the natural resources or on oil, but everything else would be 25% in Canada. And so Canada and Mexico both said they are doing a staged response, and their first effort is like they're going after red states. They are going to apply tariffs to the red states on things that are coming out of them. So one of the things would be like Tennessee whiskey, things that are very popular and red states make money off of in exporting. Well, that's what they're going to do, and that it's like their punishment for supporting Trump. And so the red states, like South Dakota, I don't know what we export at this point, but red states are going to be hit according to Canada and Mexico's response. China is also going to issue sanctions. I don't have time to look at all the things that they were sanctioning the United States for, but we also have happening down, let's see, on the 31st, I believe it was, a group of nine, 9 countries, they went to The Hague, and let me see if I can pull them up. Um, and they said that they were going to, they're called the Hague Group. And so they went down there, they met, and then they are creating policies themselves. And the 9 countries are South Africa, Malaysia, Namibia, Colombia, Bolivia, Chile, Senegal, Honduras, and Belize. And so they went to, and this was hosted by the Progressive International. This whole thing is also on YouTube. So if you want, and I could try to link it in here on YouTube as well. But they are supporting ICC and the decisions there, and they're coming up with their own ways in which to address Israel and the United States. And so it looks like maybe they too are going to be doing sanctions. So, so in the shock doctrine, then we have this shock and awe. So we have, just boom, we got hit and we're all panicking, we're all running everywhere trying to figure it out. And so then how do we address these things? So the things that we're going to see, and we have seen human violations, human rights violations. So we see where Trump has says he's going to, or he already has reopened Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay will now house illegal immigrants. They will be imprisoned there. So what he was initially trying to do, deportation, right? He was going to deport them. So Mexico said, you do not have a right to fly over our airspace. So what would have been an easy thing to Colombia or to Guatemala or to wherever he was planning to just go and drop all these people off, Now he has to go all the way out to the sea. I can't remember what island he has to go to refill and then come back and then go to Guatemala. So what was initially, let's just say a $10 flight now becomes $100 flight. And so that gets scrapped because they're not going to be able to do it. And using military planes to do it. So the military are actively down there on the southern border. And then you have our infamous former governor, Kristi Noem, wearing a flak jacket like she is Olivia Benson. It makes me laugh. She thinks she's on Law and Order or something. Just all whatever. So, so then what ends up happening is we have to react, right? We're going to respond. And so then we get into the place of resistance and activism. So in what ends up happening then is our country ends up in a lot of turmoil because they are doing the shock and awe to us and we are reacting. And so we're just going to be in this social and economic chaos. And so we feel it. We feel it right now. You know, this is going on. I mean, there's a long record of this happening, you know, like throughout wartime, throughout things and where. So if you think about this is where my mind is. I'll also link it. There's a documentary that just came out and it's called The Dimming and it's about global warming. And it's also, you know, they talk about conspiracy, right? Like there's always this conspiracy. Everybody says, "Oh, there's no global warming. We just had 500 feet of snowfall or 500 things of waterfall." And we all recognize that this weather is extreme. It's not even like the storm came in and it snowed, and then after the snow, you know, we had 2 feet of snow or 3 feet of snow. It's real extreme. It comes in and it drops it and then, you know, whatever we're dealing with. And so in this documentary, The Dimming, it talks about how, you know, and we've all heard this too about chemtrails and about the manipulation of weather. And so in The Dimming, that's what they're talking about and how they do it. And they even show like weather people, like this military guy, he's like, "I know what this is," you know, and he's just telling, you know, this is what this, you know, so this extreme weather is coming. And so they talk about like even the fires in California because of the chemicals that we put in the sky and how that comes down out of the sky and it's falling on our trees in the forest, in the mountains. It's killing the trees from the top down. And so this increases fire danger. And then it also talks about how those chemicals get into the soil and then are killing, you know, all the insects. And they talk about the conspiracy, you know, like people say, you know, and so everything is like you have to take it with a grain of salt and we should all be doing our own research on it. But it made me really think about Vance Blacksmith. And Vance and I were childhood friends, grew up together. And you know, there was some time where we were neighbors and he was talking to me about it because we just had a storm. And so he was saying, "Did you notice?" And so I was like, "Yeah, I did." You know, he's talking about the cloud seeding. And then all of a sudden we had this weather. And so it really made me think about him. And he had passed away a few years ago. So it's like I can't call him up and say, "Hey, Vance." here's a thing you already know about, but you want to watch it. And so I sent it off to tribal council people to watch. And, the ones that are military people, they responded to me and said, yeah, that's what they say in the military. Like, we knew this from the military. And so a lot of people know these already, but we're in denial. And a lot of our farmers and ranchers are in denial because they're MAGA heads, right? They're 100% MAGA, and they just believe in the propaganda that's being, they're being lied to. And I sent it to some of them, and I just said, watch it, watch it and think about it. Like, what do this is a big thing. And one of the stories in the dimming talks about the droughts in South Africa and how the governments, the US government and them are stealing the moisture from Africa to create these great storms in North America. And so then like those hurricanes and how crazy those hurricanes are, all man-made. And we know this, but yet we don't fight it. And I don't know, it's just really, so it's destabilizing us as people. And then we're just not in a place where we would naturally be able to respond. And so you think about what's going on in Palestine and how upset American people were and are over Palestine, the genocide there. And then you look to the hurricane that came in and took out North Carolina and Tennessee, all of those people. And like they're just in California now. California burnt up. And so you think, and so people are unstable there. And if you go back and you think about Maslow's hierarchy, and if those basic needs aren't being met, we're not even able to think beyond because we're just trying to get our basic needs met. And so the destabilization of our whole society is happening. The other thing we're seeing is privatization, the rise of privatization. And all privatization is for these billionaires to steal our money. And so we have to realize that billionaires are stealing our money. And it's in the news that Elon Musk has been able to get into the treasury and have access to all the information for Medicare, Social Security, grant contracts, all of that. And he brought in all his people to download that information and to take it. And not anybody from Congress, not the feds, nobody's like saying, hey, what the heck? Elon Musk? Like that guy's from South Africa. Maybe considered a naturalized citizen, but he didn't even do it the right way either, but yet wants to judge Mexicans for crossing a border. He came, he lied, he cheated, and then he paid for his citizenship, which is real funny because on TikTok everybody's making these videos of how they're calling ICE and they're reporting him. They're reporting an illegal immigrant, and then they say his name is Elon Musk or Elon Musk. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and it's so funny. The other thing that comes from shock and awe is deregulation. So how we see it now, like they want to deregulate everything so then the rich can just rip us off even more and destroy the planet. And you remember Elon Musk has his Sky Force or whatever, where he's trying to fly off this planet and go find somewhere else to live. And so there's a whole class of billionaires that are going to be able to do that, get in a jet and fly off and go land somewhere else and try to make a new living. And then there's going to be us. The other thing is enslavement. And so in Tennessee, they're passing a law that says that they will incarcerate for life illegal immigrants. And then those illegal immigrants are going to be slaves. So this is like really crazy stuff that's happening. Um, there's another thing of what in Shock and Awe they talk about profit from reconstruction. So who's going to profit from rebuilding those homes in North Carolina and Tennessee, from rebuilding all of that stuff? Those billionaires are going to profit from it. Who's going to profit from rebuilding Gaza? If Trump has anything to do with it, the billionaires. And right now they have mercenaries, American mercenaries that are on the corridor in Gaza Strip that are on the Israeli side. They're not there about safety or anything like that. So we have mercenaries that are over in Gaza. We have military people over there. And so that's an issue. Um, there's like a thing that we could look for, and it's called what they do is it's called like monetary policies. And so what they want to do is create inflation. So we see this again too, right? So they're going to create this inflation so that they can make the Federal Reserve drop the interest rates, so saying to control inflation. And so then what that's going to do is make us feel like, oh, I can invest or I can do something, and they steal more money from us. um, and they'll do this even like, so now they're talking about Trump saying no employee tax. He's going to end employment tax. So all of these efforts are to destabilize our government so they can rip us off. That's what we just got to know. That's what they're doing. Ending school choice, right? They're trying to end school so that we only privileged people will have education again, and the rest of us, we're going to be workers. We're going to be enslaved. You know, when you think about, I was telling you guys, and I think I shared videos about Congo and how the Congolese are enslaved to dig out all that cobalt. That's gonna be us digging out all the uranium. Just look at the Navajo, what they did to them and the uranium. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to occur because of this shock and awe stuff. So the shock demand, you can get that book and read it. It's pretty interesting. The opposite of the shock demand or Friedman's theory of economics is what they call the Keynesian. I think I'm saying it right. Keynesesian economics. And so when you start to look at like where these economic thoughts come from and the decisions, so Friedman, those things are really the Republican or the billionaire people trying to rip us off. And the Keynesian people are, it's more people focused and security, where they believe um, in free markets, but they think that it's more efficient if you allocate resources. And then they also believe that they need to maintain um, the monetary environment to keep it stable. They also will support the government during recession. So they would want to do things to make sure that the government doesn't collapse. They will also they'll do things to address inflation and unemployment. So they may try to enforce inflation to bring down the demand. And then they may also create fiscal policies to do that so that the economy stabilizes. So if you're thinking about Biden, that's a lot of the stuff that he was doing. And Trump is really mad right now because the Reserve did not lower interest rates, and that's what he wanted them to do, but they did not do it. And so even though Trump is coming with the shock and awe, the government systems right now are responding. Like they're not doing what he wants them to do, and that's why they're going through and trying to fire everybody. And so it's really important for this time that tribal governments try to that tribal governments really do try to organize, um put their rules in place. They need to be writing because like Johnson, Thune, and I heard this week too. Madonna Thunderhawk said it. She said they don't listen to us as regular people. They don't listen to us. They only listen to elected officials. And so our tribal governments have to speak. Our tribally elected people, school boards, all of them have to be speaking and putting pressure on Johnson, Thune, and Rounds. And so we know Johnson wants to go run for governor, so he's been actively working at that, right? So we should see him announcing here soon that he's running for governor. And so he's going to be running against the guy that the lieutenant governor who was just sworn in. Can't remember his name. Raiden. Anyways, him. So, and I think Mike Rounds is considering retiring, but that might be off the table now. And John Thune is up for re-election in 2026. So we're going to have our governor position open. We're going to have Johnson's position because he's going to have to rerun. And we're going to have Thune that has to rerun. All of those guys have to rerun for election. And so people need to be contacting them and doing what they need to be doing. There's also a call for a country, the whole United States. I think it's for the world too, but at least in the United States, they need 30% of the people to agree. I think it's 30%, or maybe it's only 3%. I have to go back and look. To agree to a strike. That's how we could stop all of this, is if we just strike. And so there's that happening. A lot of crazy things going on. I think that's why I'm really thankful for not being on the Meta platform, is that I'm not experiencing the panic. I'm not panicked. I just think people need to regroup. We got to regroup. You got to stand strong, and tribal governments need to figure out a way now to grow their own economies. So they have to create economic policies. They have to start looking at getting the federal government off their lands. So those are things that they need to do. So the federal government still has a lot of say in their land. So they need to say, oh, we don't want that anymore. We're doing this ourselves, and you guys, BIA, you can pack up and get out. And then start to find ways to create these policies. We should be building houses. China, they have no home. I mean, like 0.08% homelessness. Other than that, everybody has a home. And so I'm gonna, let's say, on the res here on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, pull up my calculator. If we had, I think they say there's 28,000 people that live on the res. I think, I can't remember. And so if we times that by what would 0.08%? I think G's would have to go 0.008. I think. So 224 people would be homeless if I did that right. Oops, too many thousands. So it's either going to be 224 people or 22.4. So 23 people would be homeless. So it's like we have to create it. We have to create the mechanisms, but we have to create markets and we have to create ways. Like there's nothing wrong. You go look at, the United States fights communism. They fight socialism. They fight those economic things. Our council needs to educate themselves because they are enforcing capitalism on the reservation, and that's what's creating the hardships that we face. If we didn't have that and everybody had a right to work and everybody had a right to a home and everybody, all of those things, we wouldn't be in this situation. People wouldn't be taking advantage of us. And we would have back our tribal, what did we use? Farm and ranch, where our own people ran the cows and horses or whatever. But we would be doing that. Anyways, such is life. Such is life. So and we need to end property taxes. That's like one of my biggest things right now. Like I wanted to move. I'm getting ready to look. And then this China just blew me out of the water with the no property tax. And like right here I live, I don't have to pay property tax. But if I move, I'm going to have to pay property tax. So things for me to think about. I'll be disenrolling as Oglala and enrolled to be Sichungu, and then because I'd be eligible, and then I'll move to Santi and be disenroll and then enroll to be Santi. I was thinking about this, like the genetic pickup. So picking up all my DNA and going back east. And then I could pick up my DNA there and then head back to Prairie Island or Lower Sioux, but I really want to be at Prairie Island. And see, they don't have to, they could make me a member, but they could I don't need to be a per capita, I work and stuff. I don't need to be a per capita Indian. You could just let me put my land in trust. And I don't have to pay taxes. Anyways, the absurdity of it, we should end property taxes. I don't know about the employment tax. Yeah, I don't like to have to pay that much in taxes, but definitely property tax we should end. Yeah. Anyways, I'm glad you guys joined me here on YouTube. Like, share. You can even take this and go put it on Facebook. But you could do that if you're on Facebook. Or you could just comment and subscribe. That's what I forget. Yeah, it's not follow or whatever, it's subscribe. Please subscribe to my channel and help build Toksa Hour. So on YouTube, see if we can get back up to where we were in Facebook. So tell everybody I'm over here and I'm active Sunday mornings. So with that, maybe next week we will have Chaz Jewett coming on, or the Sunday after. So working on it, and I'm figuring out how to do advertisement on YouTube for it. So just watch for that. So be blessed, everyone. Thank you for joining Toksa Hour this morning, and we are looking forward to the YouTube journey.